Como lo había prometido, luego de la pausa estamos de regreso y continuamos esta interesante conversación que sostiene Carlos Graupera con el senador Dave McCormick.
Sí, Lázaro, continúa mi conversación con el senador McCormick. You paid a visit to Tech Centro here in Lancaster, and you met with the other Tech Centro directors. So I'd like to turn our topic into workforce development. Yeah. And there is a view out of Washington, Department of Labor, and with our WIB boards that unemployment is the issue. Unemployment is going to tick up for sure, but when we see it in the neighborhood, it's underemployment. It's good families that are going out to work, coming back home, and their paycheck does not cover their needs.
Yeah.
So they need to go from a job to a career with opportunities for advancement. And that's going to require some help from the private sector, from philanthropy, from state government, and the federal government. Could you address what the role of federal government should be in advancing opportunities beyond the unemployment population into other workforce elements in our society?
Yeah, it's such a great point. And, just to go back to those campaign visits, what I would hear, I'd always say to business owners, what's standing in the way of growth? 80% of the jobs that are created come from small businesses. It's not from these big companies. Big companies are great. We should have, support big companies too, but it's the small businesses that create the new jobs. And, 25, 50, 10, 100 people. And I would say to them, what's standing in the way? And almost every time they'd say, we can't hire enough people with the right skills. So what a horrible problem where you have companies that want to hire skilled workers and you have workers who are underemployed, who don't have the kind of careers you'd want. And that mismatch is the problem we're trying to solve. I grew up in a household where my dad was a school teacher and then went back to school and got a doctorate degree. And I grew up thinking and being told that the path for everybody was you got to go to college. You got to go get a 4-year degree. That's the path. I grew up in a town where I think in my high school there was 120 kids. I think 3 went away to college. But that was the path. That was the dream. And now that I'm, 40 years later, my view on this is completely different, which is we need to have multiple paths to the American dream. And it doesn't have to be college. In fact, for many people, maybe most people, it won't be college. But there needs to be a path to getting the kind of skills that are going to help fill those great jobs and solve the underemployment problem. It's not just the unemployed problem, as you've taught me. It's the underemployed problem where people are working hard, but they're just not getting ahead because the jobs aren't good-paying jobs that come with real skills. So that's a great opportunity, and I couldn't agree more. It's an opportunity that requires the private sector. If you go up to Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania, there's a great private sector, public sector partnership for the natural gas industry where people work and get the skills and they have great paying jobs on these rigs. What I saw today at Tech Centro is exactly what we need, which is the partnership between the private sector, between the public sector, the state funding, I'll come back to federal in a minute, with philanthropy, and giving people the opportunity, your statistics of 85%, first of all, the kids don't pay, 85% of them completing the program, and then 75% of them moving on to great paying jobs. That's the magic. That's the magic pill that we're looking for. And in terms of the federal government, two ideas just off the top of my head. One is the GI Bill. So I was the beneficiary of the GI Bill. I went after the Army. I went back to graduate school. The GI Bill paid for that. Well, the GI Bill should be expanded and allow veterans, and we have many, many millions of veterans, to take advantage of the GI Bill for skilled. That's one way the federal government could help. The other is Pell Grants. Pell Grants and the criteria around Pell Grants should be expanded, in my opinion, for skilled training. The old model, 4-year college degree or even a 2-year community college, is not the way that our skilled workers are going to get their skills. They have families, they have jobs. We're going to need to be flexible and adaptable. And what you're doing here is fantastic. And I want to tell you, the thing that inspired me most is I walked into those rooms with welders, the HVAC, the electricians, the energy the optimism, the smile on the face of those kids. I mean, in every one of those rooms, how are you feeling? I feel great. Are you enjoying it? I love it. Are you optimistic? Boy, I got 5 job offers already. That is the American dream right in front of us, and we need to support it.
You know, the smile on our adult learners' face is basically...
I should have said kids, right? It's adult learners.
Adult learners.
Yeah.
They're kids to me.
Me too. That's what you get old, everybody's a kid.
That's right. But the smile on their faces, they never thought they would get a second chance.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them smile.
And they're working for it, by the way. Most of them are working.
Yes.
And going to school. I mean, that's also part of the American dream. Nobody hands it to you.
So to that point, in America, if you follow the straight path, you get from point A to point B without too much problem. But if you take a detour, okay, and you need a second chance in, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that a lot of our loan programs, they haven't caught up with that reality.
Yeah.
And second chance systems are there, few far between, and they're struggling. And they need to be more friendly. That would be my soapbox.
Yeah.
More friendly to the people. When you went to
You mean from a judicial perspective, the judicial system, or do you mean economically, or
from a policy, governmental
support?
And what you saw at Tech Centro is our community colleges left the campus and came into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thaddeus Stevens left their campus, came into the neighborhood. That's exactly the kind of flexibility that we need, and I hope the government can encourage these institutions to get out of their campus, come into our urban centers, and do the transformational work. In the time that we have left, I want to talk about affordable housing. We have a crisis in this country.
Yeah.
Not for affordable housing only for low-income folks, because that's been there, but affordable housing for workforce. I like to call it workforce housing rather than affordable housing. Seems like in the American dream, affordable housing is just gone.
Yeah.
What can we do, government, on the federal level, private sector, how do you see those resources combining to address this crisis?
Yeah, you know, it's a pervasive crisis across the country. Housing cost in Pennsylvania alone went up 11% last year. So it is essentially out of reach for most people. And, there's got to be a mix of public and private support to allow people, and it takes personal responsibility too. To your point about second chances, I'm with you 100%. The part that I see here at Tech Centro and is an important part is personal responsibility. So it takes a commitment of the individual to do the hard stuff. Your students, your adult learners are working 2 jobs to get they're willing to fight for the American dream. We need to give people that one opportunity in housing. The ability to fight for that American dream. We just had a hearing 2 weeks ago in the Senate. I'm on the banking committee, and one of our questions is how to deal with affordable housing. The new Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, came and testified, and I asked him this very question: What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? He said the number one issue, and we had multiple experts that testified. The number one issue is supply. So there's not adequate public housing stock, not public housing stock, affordable housing stock. And part of the problem with that is regulations, local regulations, statewide regulations that makes it very difficult to build affordable housing. So there's a whole push on deregulation that will allow for more stock, and that housing stock is part of the answer. We need to allow for financing. It can't be financing that creates moral hazard. In other words, we have to have people take responsibility. It's one of my big worries for veterans. I'm a veteran. The veterans' homelessness problem is spiraling out of control, and so that's an affordable housing dimension that we have to work with. So I think the federal government can play a much more constructive role. I think Scott Turner, who is an expert in affordable housing, led a bunch of affordable housing initiatives in Dallas, is going to be a key part of it. And I spoke with him about coming to Pennsylvania and talking and visiting and learning what some of our barriers are that we can work on.
You know, new housing is being built all over in the Commonwealth and the nation. You can see it going up. But what that's doing is lower income families, moderate income families are being pushed out from the cities to the county. So that urbanization, that process that we're having is not a net gain.
Yeah.
And you talk to our mayors, they say, yeah, gentrification is happening, but we'd like a balance.
Well, just right out here, though, where I came in, as I was driving in, they were describing some of the affordable housing initiatives that you've been part of, maybe led the effort. And I asked you, and I'd love to hear just a minute, what's the financing mechanism? How have you been able to do that here? And what can the federal government do to support that?
The quickest answer I can give you is we get everybody involved.
Yeah.
And so if we build a house, affordable housing, and our affordable housing is for two incomes with good credit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our customer. Every house has some state money, some city money, some federal money, some tax credit money, then it works. Mm-hmm. All of these folks, all of those resources have to come in around this issue.
And it's all ownership focused. It's not. It's rent. It's ownership. It's not rental.
It's all ownership. And in our years of doing it, we know that the situation changes. If somebody's put in their last dollar to buy a home, they're not going to allow drug dealing in their property or in their block. They will begin to self-regulate, enforce, work with the police, work with the city, and it has transformed the southeast area of our city here, which was in the dumps, into a hot real estate market. Why? Because home ownership took a hold, and crime has been pushed out. Talk to law enforcement. We want more of that to happen in all of our communities in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's like a virtual cycle, because if you have ownership, you have responsibility for the community. It pushes out the crime. It's a virtual cycle. Yeah. Well, you've created it here. Congratulations.
We want to do more.
Yeah.
And we look forward to working with you in workforce development and affordable housing, entrepreneurship. You know, these immigrant communities that we deal with, they're great entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, you know, in our community here, in the Latino community in particular, the entrepreneurship has exploded. Small businesses, they support themselves, they hire their neighbors, and they contribute to the stability of the city. Senator, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, Carlos.
Coming here.
Honored to be with you today.
And come back.
Oh, I'll be back.
This is what we say all the time. This is your microphone. Radio Centro's here for you. And you don't have to get on a train or a car to see us, to be with us. Just pick up the phone.
You got it. God bless you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so much.